Welcome to Bonnie's Beat. I'm your host, Bonnie Squires, and thanks to the magic of Zoom and Vince Celli, the station manager at Radnor Studio 21 Mainline Television, we're back in business for Bonnie's Beat. And today, as part of our tribute to the late amazing Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I've drawn on my friendship with Madam Justice Sandra Schultz Newman, retired, who was the first woman elected to the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court. Sandra Newman, you may speak now.
Hi, Bonnie Squires. Well, let me just tell you a few things. Not many people realize, but the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is the oldest court in the nation. It's 75 years older than the U.S. Supreme Court. So that there's some
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
I'll give you a great book to read about it.
Okay.
There's some really good books about, how circuit court judges got their name because we were in Pennsylvania. They were out going on the horses to actually have hearings. So, but yes, I was the first woman to be elected, and it was the most gratifying experience in the world. I should also tell you this. I'm a Republican. I was a young
I never
Republican.
noticed. I never noticed.
I know. Bonnie, you're supposed to act like you don't know. And I
love you anyway.
Well, that you can love me now, Bonnie. Now you can. And I was a young Republican before I could even vote. I was amazed by Ayn Rand and really taken in by the whole thing. And I have been happy for many years with it. And I'll end it with that. Anyhow, but I always appreciated Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Party line didn't matter. And let me tell you, I had dinner with her. First of all, our court was invited to the U.S. Supreme Court for dinner. Okay, and I'll tell you a cute story first. She always wore either black or white lace gloves when she was entertaining back in those days. I didn't see her in later years with them. And when we got back, my justices gave me a pair of black lace gloves. And I never wore them until the pandemic. I always have my hands on my face, and I said to my friend, this is terrible. The pandemic, you're not supposed to do this. She said, wear cotton gloves. So I've been wearing my lace gloves. But first of all, you had to appreciate the fact that Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Anthony Scalia were best friends.
Amazing.
They went to the opera together. They performed together. It was amazing. So I was more comfortable than I would have been when I sat next to her, because when we were talking, I said, I was a Republican, and I don't agree with every one of your opinions, but I think you're the most brilliant and the best writer that we could ever have. And I said, and I feel good that you're friendly with Justice Scalia, who was I really, really enjoyed reading his opinions and his dissents. But she couldn't have been sweeter and nicer to me. And she's kind of described as very quiet. She was not very quiet. She was very friendly, very outgoing. And, speaking of women lawyers, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was much older than I was. By the way, I left the court when my husband passed away. I was on the Supreme Court for 12 years. And she had a harder time, I'm sure, than I did. I graduated law school in 1972. And there were actually, our class was 201 and I think we had 9 or 10 females. So in my section, there were only 5. It was like an all man's class. But I just never had a problem with being the only woman. When I went to Drexel, my first year at Drexel, I was the only woman in my class.
Wait a second. I have to tell our listeners, our viewers, that when Drexel celebrated their centennial, they had full page ads in the Inquirer, in the Daily News, and they had picked 100 outstanding alumni. And Sandra Schultz Newman was one of those people that was in the ad. Very
And by
impressive.
the way, Bonnie, that was before I was on the court. That's
I
when was
know.
a practicing lawyer.
Well, tell us the name of your former law firm that you started.
Astor Weiss and Newman. I did not start it. When I graduated law school, I had many, many, many offers of jobs because they saw that there was going to be a breakthrough of women. I was married. My husband was well known. They didn't think I was going to move away or stop practicing, but I wanted to be a prosecutor. And when you're a prosecutor, you have to be in the county where you live. So I became a Montgomery County prosecutor. And that was one of the greatest experiences of my life because we were 12 assistant DAs now. There's over 100 now. We were a little tiny office in the basement of the courthouse. And I think it was a week or 2 weeks after I passed my bar, I had a jury trial on a fornication and bastardy case, which we don't have anymore. But I was able
What an intriguing title. I love it.
Well, now we have all the tests. We're very fancy. But the bottom line is I was able to get my foot in a courtroom door and to really try a case. And if I had gone into Philadelphia, I would have been in motions for a long time and never having gotten into the courtroom probably. So I had a lot of experience. And then I went out on my own because, and you'll love this story, and this is a great female male story. My husband and I were at the accountant's, and the accountant said to him, you know, Jules, if she didn't work, you'd have more money. He was actually paying more in taxes for me to work than not to work. Well, I didn't like that. So I went into practice for myself. I took one of my good friends, and he was an associate, and I had 3 secretaries, and I started a big office, and I built a big divorce practice. I don't know why. I could tell you why, because I started getting criminal cases, and I did not love defending criminal cases. I had a lot of threats to my family on one of them.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was not pleasant. But I was out by myself for 3 years, and I got a call from Paul Astor. He's still a very dear friend. And Paul said, how would you like merging our firms? I said, well, you've got a big firm. I've got a little tiny firm. He said, that's okay. And it was Astor and Weiss was dead. So he said, I'll name the firm Astor, Weiss and Newman, which was, and I really liked people that were there. Again, I was the only woman. And there's one other thing I want to say for anybody who's listening who is a young lawyer, a young woman looking at law or any profession really. Don't look for discrimination. You won't get it as much. When I got on the Supreme Court, I had 12 wonderful years. The justices were just wonderful to me. We were good friends. I never had any feeling that I was discriminated against.
That's very interesting because you were often the only woman in the room, right?
Oh, more often than not. I got called sir a lot of times too, which didn't bother me as long as they were acknowledging me. But I do think I knew somebody that got into Yale Law School. She's dead now. She's older than Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And she was furious that they didn't have a female's bathroom there. she was able to use the bathroom that locked, but they didn't have a female bathroom. So when I get elected to the Supreme Court, one of my first calls is, we have 3 courtrooms, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, and Philly. Would you like a ladies' room put in? I said, do you have locks on all the doors? And they said, yes. I said, don't go to the expense of putting up women's rooms. Not necessary. When you have more than one, worry about it. So that I never, look, I don't have a sister. I grew up kind of in a man's world. And although I love my girlfriends like you, Bonnie, but I didn't have the exposure very much to women. And I knew I had to go in and fit in and just be one of the guys. And it's not hard, it's fun.
Well, it's interesting because when I was a special assistant to Peter Leocoris when he was president of Temple University, I was often the only woman at the cabinet meetings and in a lot of other meetings. And it's true that when a woman comes up with an idea, very often there is a strained silence, and then a man will repeat the same thing that the woman just said, her exact words, and all the other men in the room will say, what a great idea. But I didn't put up with that nonsense because like I was never shy.
I didn't have the experience. No, because I'll tell you something else. Women are afraid to speak like men. So they're so, what's the word I want to use? They're so removed and they're lovely and they're nice. But when you get in there and you use a little curse word and the guy say, I don't have to be afraid of her. It works.
Oh.
And having been a prosecutor for over 3 years, I know more words than anybody in the world. I grew up in a house where if you cursed, you got killed. And then it was part of my language. And I have sons, not daughters. So my world is just all men. I finally got 2 granddaughters, but that was late on.
Well, one of your sons took a political path too, right? Because for a while he was the executive director of the state commission on whatever it is that regulates drinks and
the
wine.
Liquor Control Board.
Liquor Control Board.
Jonathan graduated Penn Law School, had a job with a big firm, and then was offered the job with the Liquor Control Board. Most people don't spend much time. Jonathan gave his whole heart and soul to it. And he had the Newman special. And anyhow, he went out into the wine business. And he's now probably the biggest middleman in the world. Although he sent me an article today, which was heartbreaking, about grapes being in trouble, that they won't have wine for a very long time because of the fire.
Because of the pandemic.
No, because of the fires in California.
Oh, the fires. Oh, there's horrible fires in California.
Yes.
I don't know where to look.
What?
There are so many terrible things that are happening in our world right now between the pandemic, the fires, the hurricanes, the floods. You don't know where to look.
You know something? It's like somebody said to me in June, what next? And there was a terrible storm. I just thought it was a bad rainstorm. Well, part of my whole downstairs blew up. I lost doors. I lost windows. It was a mess.
You're kidding.
No.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, even a storm, you're right, though. What is happening? It's not just the pandemic. It's not just any one thing. It's everything.
Everything. And climate change.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so true.
What year were you first elected to the state Supreme Court?
I was elected in 1995. Before that, I sat on the state's Commonwealth Court, which is an appellate court.
Because I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg was named to the court in 1993 by by Bill Clinton. It must have been a very gutsy thing for him to have done. It's interesting when you see the documentary and even the fictionalized version of her life, that wonderful movie, which I watched again last night, that her husband, who was like the tax attorney in New York City, which was saying a lot, Marty Ginsburg, that he collared everybody he knew, an elected official, an appointed official, CEOs, law firms, because she was a little older than most of the appointees before her had been when they were named to the United States Supreme Court. But he collared everybody, and a lot of people gave him credit for having. And then Clinton, I saw an interview with Clinton recently, and he said he was convinced to at least give her an audience. And he said in 5 minutes, he was hooked. That was it with her brilliance. So
amazing. And you know what I keep thinking now? Sandra Day O'Connor, who was the first woman.
Right.
We haven't heard much about her over the years. Occasionally I'll see she's speaking at a graduation, but
that's true.
I don't really hear about her.
And it was unfortunate. Her husband had Alzheimer's, and she gave up her seat in the U.S. Supreme Court to go back home to take care of him. But he died very shortly thereafter, unfortunately.
Well, he also went into a nursing home and fell in love with a woman there.
That I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, that was probably part of his dementia.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I felt bad for her because she probably didn't have to leave the court if he was that bad.
Yes.
But who knows? We all have our reasons for leaving the court.
And Ruth Bader Ginsburg, to have held on with all those bouts of cancer and all the treatments and the fall and breaking her ribs and little bitty thing. I met her a few times. I didn't have dinner with her, but I met her a few times. And many years ago, when I was president of American Jewish Congress, which I miss a lot, the agency, went out of business because of the Madoff scandal.
Yeah, I remember that.
There were people in New York who were very friendly socially with him, and they gave him the whole endowment of American Jewish Congress to invest. So the agency lost everything, had to close their international travel program, had to close all their offices, laid off all the employees. That was the end of American Jewish Congress, unfortunately. But when it was in its heyday, I was also in the National Governing Council. And I remember that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was this amazing woman, attorney, professor who would sit in on meetings with us. So I go back a long time with her, but the tributes that have been paid to her are really remarkable and well-deserved. I mean, she was a trailblazer in every sense of the word. Absolutely.
You know what I find amazing? I think I had the greatest husband in the world, and you knew him. He was a great man. But Marty Ginsburg actually gave up his career as a famous tax lawyer to be Mr. Mom and take care of the house and the children and cook and everything, so she could sit on the Supreme Court. And when I heard that, I thought, I would never even think of that.
Although Jules Newman worshipped his wife. Is that safe to say?
That's safe to say, and he would do anything in the world, but I don't know that he would have cooked and cleaned.
Yeah, but you always had, help in the house that took care of that, right?
Yeah, but she could have had the same. She could have had the same, but he's still, I pay great tribute to him too.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody has paid tribute to him. And it was like your marriage. It was such a love story. It really was a true love story.
She too was married very young and had a child very young, like I did.
Yeah, she was in law school. And I remember her story, when she was in Harvard initially at law school, and the professor asked, there were a few women out of 500 students, and he wanted them to justify why they were there taking up a seat that a man could have. So that's what she was dealing
You know
with.
what? It's so interesting to me. And I do a lot of mentoring of young women, young men too. Not limited to just women. But I just have this feeling that if they would go more within the swing of things, that they would not have the discrimination they feel. I just feel that way, and I tell them that. And it just amazes me that when I got the Sandra Day O'Connor, Ann Albert Award for mentoring, that one of the things I put into the kids, male and female, that it's not a different world, it's the same world. And look, we're 50% women in law schools now, and medical schools too.
That is amazing, because there were, I remember, not that long ago, when you could count on like one hand the women in the law, like Lita Cohen, Lita Inzel. I mean, she was like a trailblazer because she went to law school. There weren't very many women.
My husband had one female in his class in medical school. Only one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, you look at the arts and entertainment, and women have certainly made their mark and are not treated like less than human in the arts.
It'll be very interesting to see who our nominee is for the Supreme Court, and whether he or she will be able to go along with what Ruth Bader Ginsburg built.
Well, we know what's in store for us. Everything's going to be a battle, because
I hope it's just a bad dream.
Well, she set so many precedents, and some things, I mean, most lawyers and most judges respect the word precedent, which is a previous decision, right? Talk about that.
Well, you're bound by it. You're bound by precedent.
Except Lindsey Graham, mark my words and you can use them against me. Well, that's changed.
Well, women may be going back to the Stone Age.
We hope not.
I hope not.
We hope not.
I hope not. I have 2 little granddaughters, and I don't want them in the Stone Age.
You were also the first female assistant district attorney in Montgomery County. You have so many firsts on your resume, Sandra. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And now, but you're still working. So what are you doing now?
Now I do appellate work. I do arbitrations, few mediations, mostly arbitrations, but I do a lot of appellate work where people have lost their case and they appeal it. And a lot of good lawyers don't know how to appeal cases. And that's what I did all the time I was on the Supreme Court. I might add something else. When I ran for the Commonwealth Court, there were 2 women on the Commonwealth Court, which is a fabulous court, by the way. And but a Republican had not won in 9 years. So everybody was like, you can't win, including me. And I won that, which got me well known because I got the judge of the year for writing so many opinions on the Commonwealth Court my first year. And my second year, I was campaigning for the Supreme Court and writing my opinions in the car. So I
like the way, the reason that you kept Schultz, which was truly your maiden name,
Yes.
was in
Which I did not like.
Central Pennsylvania, they saw Schultz and they thought they didn't know you were Jewish when they saw Schultz.
Bonnie, let me tell you, a lot of people are named Schultz in the middle of the state. And I ate so much Schultz bologna, you wouldn't believe it. And in Pittsburgh, they thought I was Catholic. And I was endorsed by the pro-Christian group. And one of the men said to my campaign manager, "She's not really Jewish. Her husband's a rich Jewish doctor." Couldn't deal with me as a Jew, but my husband was, so that was okay.
That was okay.
But
that's so funny.
It was a great experience. All those things just made me laugh. I couldn't get angry if someone was that narrow in thinking. It's okay.
Yeah, but you broke so much ground wherever you went. Absolutely. Absolutely. And even though I'm a D and you're an R, I've worked with you. I've been consulting for you for years now, right?
Right.
But mostly friends.
And the man I'm married to now is a Democrat.
Oh, David.
Oh, we have some of our best fights on politics.
Oh, yeah. You and David, how long have you been married now?
3.5 years.
And they said it wouldn't last. Okay.
Oh, we'll show them. Listen, it's gotta last. We're locked in the house.
That's true. That's true. Me too. And my husband is locked in Tunisia because he went there to bury his father, and now they're not letting planes come from anywhere,
Awful.
Europe, Africa.
I feel for you, Bonnie. You know that.
Well, I got my 2 pussycats for company. And now that Vince has let me know that I could do the show by Zoom, every day I go to Zoom services at Har Zion Temple. So I get...
Well, I'm going to tell you, I want you to bring my gorgeous dog on the Zoom show.
Okay. Anyway, our guest today has been Madam Justice Sandra Schultz Newman, retired, the first woman elected to the state Supreme Court, and she knew Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So we're paying tribute to the late Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, as well. And Sandra, thank you so much. It's so good to lay eyes on you, since neither of us ever leave our houses because of the coronavirus. So it's good to be able to see you.
True, and I thank you, and I thank Vince for putting this together. It was a delight. It really was.
And we'll find out later when this is going to be either aired or available on YouTube, and then we can share it with all of our other friends.
So we'll show it to a lot of girls and tell them they don't have to be discriminated against.
Absolutely. No discrimination.
Right.
Anyway, and it's a nice way to start the new year. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sandra.
Thank you.
Okay, people, this has been Bonnie's Beat, and we'll see you whenever.